Hi, this is Pastor Jeff. Let's pick up in Romans chapter 11 at verse 16. Paul starts out with making a couple of object type lessons here. If the dough offered as first fruits is holy, so is the whole lump. And if the root is holy, so are the branches. Paul is made these 2 points, and he's really actually referencing the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. If they were made holy or set aside as the foundation of the people, then must be the people, the end result. So if the dough offered as first fruits is holy, so is the whole lump. So if we start off with the dough, then the whole lump is holy. And so if we say the root is holy, then so are all the branches. And so let's go on with that. And that idea is, though, that if God consecrated or set aside the fathers, the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he did so with the understanding that that would move forward through the generations to the people of Israel today even. Why? Because of that remnant. So now let's look at 17. But if some of the branches were broken off, that's the ones that reject the Messiah. That's those that reject God. And you, although a wild olive shoot, were grafted in. That's the Gentiles to be grafted in among the others, now share in the nourishing root of the olive tree. So here's Paul's point, that the original vine of the Israelites that was founded upon the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and down through the lineage. And then that vine is still set aside and consecrated as holy. And so some of these branches were broken off. So that vine is still holy, set aside for a purpose in God's plan. And yes, some branches will be broken off. Those, again, are the Israelites that reject the Messiah. And we, as Gentiles, are wild. We're not part of that branch. We're not part of that vine. We're not part of that consecrated vine. And then we accept Jesus, and accepting Jesus then grafts us into that vine. And then we become part of that consecrated family of God. And now we share in the nourishment of that root. We share in the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We can claim them as our patriarchs, as our forefathers, just as much because we're grafted in. See, so then it goes on to 18. Do not be arrogant towards the branches. If you are, remember, it is not you who support the root, but the root that supports you. So we should not have arrogance as Gentiles because we accepted Jesus in so many, we're not greater than the vine and the branches upon the vine, because we're still supported by the patriarchs, the roots. We are equal, though, but we can't think of ourselves as arrogant. We can't think of ourselves as somehow better, because we're not. We are a humble part of that vine, just like the remnant is. And so it goes on in 19, it says, then you will say, branches were broken off so that I may be grafted in. Yes, that is true, he says in 20. They were broken off because of their unbelief, because they rejected the Messiah. They were broken off. But you stand fast through faith, so do not become proud, but fear. So through faith, through that faith of our heart, that condition of our heart is built upon faith that says, I love God and I want to please him. And that is through that condition that God grafts us in. But they were broken off for their unbelief. And so he says in 21, for if God did not spare the natural branches, neither will he spare you. So don't get proud. Don't get your head blown up because you think you're something greater and more special than the Israelites because you accepted Jesus. No, Paul's telling you, be humble. You've been grafted in, yes. But do not be proud, be fearful. And that's a healthy fear of God that keeps you staying in line with him as well. See, love is valuable. Love of God helps us to want to please him, helps us to want to follow and learn about him and understand him. But there's also that healthy fear of God that we as Christians need to have, that we need to fear that if we do not adhere to his will, if we do not choose to continue to love him and desire to him and to please him, that just like the Israelites, they were broken off. So can we be broken off, even though we've been grafted in. But fear, that healthy fear, though, that's a healthy fear of God. That's a healthy fear of God that keeps us on the, it's not an overwhelming fear that immobilizes us. It's a healthy fear that energizes us along with our love of God. And so Paul said, do not be proudful, do not be boastful, do not do these things, but because that's the roots. We're Israelites, grafted in, and we are equal, but not greater. Just like earlier, he said, we're not less. Amen. And we'll be back to cover the rest of the chapter tomorrow.